Speaking of which, Israel forces are attacking Gaza's Al-Shifa hospital again.
Black smoke billows. Caked in dust, survivors emerge. We were just going to get some flowers.
Oh, I was going to say, by the way, as I called it, Biden is up by 1 in this poll before they added any context, saying the thing about the border actually bumps him down. Here's the next one. Democrat Joe Biden supports a bipartisan border security and immigration bill that is endorsed by Border Patrol Union. Republican Donald Trump opposes the bipartisan border security and immigration bill that is endorsed by the Border Patrol Union. Having heard this, let me ask you again: if the election for president today were to be today, who would you vote for? 45% Joe Biden, 46% Donald Trump, 9% not sure. Here's the next question. Democrat Joe Biden supports reducing inflation by increasing taxes on corporations and individuals who make more than $400,000 a year. Republican Donald Trump supports reducing inflation by cutting Medicare and Social Security. Having heard this, let me ask you again. If the election for president were today, who would you vote for? Joe Biden, 51%. Donald Trump, 39%. 10% not sure. I wonder which narrative we should go with. I wonder which narrative is a more popular narrative. Much to consider, much to think of. Yeah, I'm going to move right on the immigration thing anyway. Biden is up by 1% in this poll before they added the context, so saying the thing about border actually bumps him down, by the way. Q7 seems like one of those things a functioning campaign will be shouting from the rooftops. How about we do the border thing and on top of that say that like we're going to have an inconsistent policy on Israel in their baby murder campaign where we say, don't do so much baby murder, please, but also here are the weapons to do the baby murder with. Oh, man. Oh, there's going to be a two-state, right? Oh, shit. Benjamin Netanyahu came out and said no two-state again. Maybe don't invade Rafah where all the babies are. Oh, shit. Benjamin Netanyahu came out and said he's going to invade Rafah and kill all the babies. Oh, fuck. That. Now that, ladies and gentlemen, is a winning campaign. Let's go. That right there, winning campaign, folks. God, they did it again. These guys are so fucking brilliant, dude. Fuck, I love these guys.
This boy says. These nightmarish scenes captured by Al Jazeera as Israeli forces once again attack Al-Shifa hospital and the surrounding area. It's shameful, this woman cries out. Israel.
Yeah, why are they? They must be saying it's shameful what Hamas is doing to us, right? That's what I've been told this entire time.
Said it killed a senior Hamas operative hiding at the hospital and that attacks on soldiers had been launched from the compound. Palestinians say the man was the head of police and had been helping coordinate aid deliveries in Gaza. And Al Jazeera.
I 100% believe the Palestinians on this. Israel's goals from storming Al-Shifa hospital and killing al-Mabhouh. The expert in Palestinian resistance affairs, Hani Al-Dali, speaks to Al-Mayadeen about the occupation's goals from storming Al-Shifa hospital and assassinating martyr Fayyek al-Mabhouh. Once again, Israel occupation forces have stormed the Al-Shifa medical complex in Gaza after fabricating yet another hoax. Hani Al-Dali, an expert on Palestinian resistance affairs, detailed to Al-Mayadeen on Monday what the occupation's goals from the assassination of martyr Fayyek al-Mabhouh and storming Al-Shifa were. Al-Dali revealed that Fayyek al-Mabhouh was the brother of Al-Qassam Brigade's martyr Mahmoud al-Mabhouh and had been incarcerated for 15 years in Israeli prisons. Al-Mabhouh came from a family who's offered countless sacrifices of Palestine in the Al-Aqsa Mosque. Reportedly, Al-Mabhouh had been conducting his work publicly within the Ministry of Interior and National Security, which is a civilian apparatus as per law. Al-Dali clarified that Al-Shifa Hospital includes a specialized department for the ministry itself, which manages and safeguards the hospital, which is chartered within the law. So the thing is, Israeli defenders have been doing this. I'm not entirely certain on this dude's background. Okay? But Israeli defenders have been doing this thing where they will point to like the Palestinian interior security, which is like the civilian police force, basically. And consistently claiming that they are actually the bad guys. They are actually the bad guys. They are actually also Hamas. Because see, they have guns, which they have like a legal right to have guns and are recognized by international law. Part of the reason why the aid drops are so chaotic is because there is no working interior security at the moment. Do you understand? Faik Mabhouh, the Hamas commander killed by IDF troops at Al-Shifa hospital this morning, is the brother of Mahmoud Mabhouh, who was allegedly assassinated by the Mossad in Dubai in 2010. Liberals become police abolitionists only when it's in the service of genocide. Now, of course, a high-profile target is hiding in the hospital, so we have to blow up the hospital. Completely unacceptable. But that's besides the point.
Zera journalist Ismail Al-Ghul was amongst those detained. Local journalists working with us have been filming inside Al-Shifa over the past few days. Israeli forces took it over last year, alleging a Hamas command and control center lay underneath it. No evidence of that has been produced, and after the soldiers withdrew, doctors...
So make no mistake. Make no mistake, okay? High-profile assassination because they're Hamas, already a ridiculous fucking reason to blow up a hospital, okay? I want to stand. I want to stand by that. I want to make sure that there is no uncertainty there, okay? Beyond that, however, the secondary thing that I think makes it even further unacceptable is profiling every single person that has any kind of security personnel that is a part of the civil governance, like the Palestinian police force, as Hamas additionally fucked up. Specifically because, like I mentioned, a big part of the problems with aid drops and aid convoys in general, the reason why it turns into chaos when Israel's not shooting at them, is because there is no security to maintain and like stop the crowds from overrunning the trucks and whatnot.
Began treating patients once more. Amongst them, 16-year-old Rafiq and his younger sister Rafif. Both have had amputations after being hit by an Israeli strike that killed their siblings and their mother.
My mother was more than just a mother. She was a sister, a friend. She was everything. I wish she could come back, because when I lost her, I lost my life.
Carrying the pain of his grief, whilst his frail body writhes in agony. Rafiq is also suffering from malnutrition, but doctors don't have the right medicine or food to help him recover.
I feel an unnatural pain because the shrapnel that hit me in the back tore the muscles, so they had to give me a colostomy bag.
When I need a painkiller and they can't provide it, I curl up and bite my teeth until I sleep and feel the pain gradually fading away.
Somehow Rafif still manages to smile, but she knows they both need to find a way out of Gaza to access the treatment they need.
Please get us out of here, because this place is no longer Gaza. It's no longer a land to live or breathe in.
We don't know what's happened to the siblings after today's raid. The Israeli military released its own footage from inside Al-Shifa. The defense minister said soldiers had turned the hospital into a death trap for terrorists and that 20 gunmen had been killed. Facing international criticism, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu today vowed to continue the war, even as a delegation arrived in Qatar for talks on a ceasefire.
How do we define victory? We define it as the destruction of Hamas's military and governing capability. We define it also as the return of the hostages, which we're working right now, because this is a war of civilization against barbarism.
Bro, I mean, he hasn't stopped doing that Nazi shit, like, literally. Yeah, it is a war between civilization and barbarism. You're just on the side of barbarism, dumbass. Like, who is the fucking barber? Who's the barbarian in this situation? The fucking young child that you have blown to bits alongside their family, or the dude doing the blowing up? Disgusting.
But many Israelis are growing increasingly frustrated with Netanyahu's government for not having reached an agreement already.
Are you in favor of a deal, even if it means stopping the war and leaving Hamas still in Gaza?
They do horrible things and they are not legitimate, they're terrorists. But first thing, our moral, the duty is to bring back home the women, the young men, the older men, everyone. This is number one.
Yeah, bro. I mean, there it is. That's the... There, someone said, there's the nuance. It's just so nuanced, we'll never know. Yeah, even from a self-preservation standpoint, it makes no fucking sense. It makes no sense. Like, if you care about the hostages, it still doesn't fucking make sense. Like, Benjamin Netanyahu's actions are like completely antithetical to the protection and survival of the Israeli hostages. These are the, they're not the left, but these are the liberals, okay? And not even the liberals. These are just the people that have just family members that are in Gaza right now. A byproduct of as I've mentioned before, the Hannibal Directive. An expected outcome, if you're familiar with Israel's ways of waging war and conducting operations. You may not know the answer to this question, but do you think Bibi is continuing this war primarily because he's fucking genocidal monster, or because he doesn't want to go to prison for his corruption charges? I think both. I think both. Benjamin Netanyahu has a long career, a long track record of being a genocidal monster. It's win-win for him. He gets to avoid prison as a deeply unpopular leader, completely fallen out of favor with a shrinking coalition of support. And also, he wants his legacy to be the guy who did the population transfer in Gaza. You know what I mean? Like, it's self-preservation all the way down. He doesn't want fucking that pussy-ass liberal Benny Gantz to be the guy who does the final solution to the Palestinians in Gaza. You know what I mean? He wants to be the guy who did it. And right now, continuing to do it also helps him stay in power.
In Gaza, starvation is spreading at unprecedented speed. Today, a warning from international monitors that famine is likely to occur within the next 2 months, and that more and more people will die from hunger. You can see the desperation at this soup kitchen in northern Gaza, where the situation is most dire. Israel is accused of using access to aid as a weapon of war. There are no vegetables, and the prices are very expensive here. Even if we have carrots or potatoes or eggplants, the prices are so high in northern Gaza. Sometimes obtaining them requires risking our lives. Israel denies blocking humanitarian access, but aid agencies, even its closest international allies, have criticized Israel's refusal to open more routes into Gaza. Some aid has now reached the north. Famine can be averted, but only if much, much more is allowed through.
Well, Secunda joins me now from Tel Aviv. Secunda.
Well, Jackie, this report on levels of hunger in Gaza makes for very grim reading. I mean, according to it, around 2/3 of people in northern Gaza are regularly going days and nights without eating. And the food that is available for sale in northern Gaza has massively increased in.
Yeah, remember Mr. Borelli said, "What famine in Gaza?" That's what he was talking about. He hit him with the fake news when talking about the horrifying conditions on the ground. Piece of shit.
In price. Israel says it insists that it's not to blame, but that's not really how pretty much the entire rest of the world sees it. And you can sense the frustration even in the United States. The National Security Advisor there, Jake Sullivan, has been talking after a conversation between President Biden and Prime Minister Netanyahu. He said that a major ground offensive in Rafah, as Netanyahu has vowed to carry out, would be a major mistake that would deepen the anarchy there is in Gaza. And he's also said that Netanyahu has agreed to send a team to Washington to discuss any operation in Rafah. But what we've not yet seen from America is any willingness, at least in public certainly, to leverage the huge amount of military aid it gives Israel. There is some talk about the possibility of a slowing down of ammunition sales. Of course, many people around the world would like to see America go much further than that. As for the ceasefire talks, they are now expected to get underway in Qatar, but Israeli officials here are briefing the media that they're not optimistic.
Secunda, thanks very much. Well, joining me now from Jerusalem is Israeli Knesset member Boaz Bismuth, who is a member of Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's Likud party. Thanks very much for joining us this evening. Half the population in Gaza is facing catastrophic levels of hunger. Famine is imminent in the north. I just wonder how concerned you are about that situation.
Good evening, and thank you very much for inviting me. I listened. I looked at the report, and I listened carefully, and let's talk about facts. 17,000 trucks have entered Gaza, humanitarian aid. You know the planes that are coming with humanitarian aid from the air, now from the sea with the American idea of the port, that of course Israel said yes, of course, and the trucks that I've said by myself entering Gaza. So what does it mean? That Israel, on the contrary, from day one of this war in Gaza, but I have to remind you also why it started, because of the massacre of the 7th of October, always said, and this is how we do the war, with, of course, respecting international law and applying, of course, humanitarian aid. This was done from day one. But I would like to ask you a question. Can you talk to me?
Immediately. October 7, Israel's been following international law. Okay, Yoav Gallant said we're shutting off aid. They gave no food for the first couple of months. What was that about? If you guys were respecting it, like what happened to respecting it in the beginning? And also, what about all of the fucking humanitarian aid trucks that you don't let in right now deliberately?
Can you have any questions concerning starvation among our hostages? We're not even visited yet, 134. But this,
exactly,
I believe that this concerns you less. Yes.
We have spoken many times and covered the situation of the hostages, spoken to their families throughout this since October. I asked you a question about whether you have any concern about people starving to death in Gaza.
So my answer was about
by the fact that northern Gaza is facing famine?
Jackie, that Jackie, I do believe that if my country, if our country, if Israel respects humanitarian aid, and I can show you the numbers, I mean, again, I can say it again, 17,000 trucks from the beginning of the war, what does it mean? It means that we're at war against terrorists, not against population. And when you mentioned before Israel operating in Rafah, I mean, Israel will do so only after evacuating population. And this is what we've done. All the places we operate.
I'm sorry to cut across you, but I'm still waiting to hear whether you have a level of concern about huge numbers of people potentially starving to death. But on the idea that Israel is allowing sufficient aid in, that is simply not accepted. In today's report, it says aid crossings continue to be hindered by crossing closures, access denials, onerous vetting procedures. The charity Oxfam says Israeli authorities are not only failing to facilitate the aid, but are...
Here's the thing. You know what they do? I've heard this from people that are there. Like working in bringing in humanitarian aid. An entire truck has medical supplies, right? And in the truck full of medical supplies, you have scissors to cut the gauze with. No, the entire truck is not allowed in. Because scissors is a weapon. Hasan being able to eat during this shit just shows how constantly he listens to deals with this shit. I mean, yeah. Also, I'm hungry. Yeah. Medical scissors, that's a weapon. Entire fucking truck is not allowed. Yep.
Actively hindering it.
Unfortunately, I mean, reality is exactly the opposite. On the contrary, if you would come to Israel, you would see so many, for example, families of hostages who feel so frustrated, as many Israelis, where you know, for example, that medicine did not arrive to our hostages. Red Cross did not see our hostages, yet we respect humanitarian aid, and this is exactly what is happening. Now, it's not because you said it 4 times that it is true. I can answer it 4, 5, 6 times and tell you that, again, 17,000 trucks have entered. Aid is coming from the air, from the sea, and wherever is needed.
The EU foreign policy chief... The EU foreign policy chief says Israel is using starvation as a weapon of war.
He can say whatever he wants, but this is so untrue. Look, I want to tell you one thing. I mean, one thing that, I mean, for me is, how would I say, unbearable. You know, we were attacked on the 7th of October. We never wanted this war. On the contrary, we were giving humanitarian aid to Gaza even before the 7th of October. Those people...
It's so strange. What was happening on the day before October 7th? Like, I wonder if they're, like, what was the living conditions of the Palestinians on October 6th, maybe? Because it's crazy. Now, you might have noticed, now, I won't say this about Channel 4 because they've done a really good job since day one. Like, probably one of the best in Western media, in, like, the traditional outlets. But the narrative has changed. Maybe not for Channel 4. They've been pretty fucking aggro from the jump. However, the one thing I do not hear from even Channel 4 or anybody else often is, what was going on before October 7? Like, in your mind, in all honesty, can you please tell me why you think that these guys had nothing going on and they just, like, randomly decided to fucking attack Israel? Liberal Zionists use the same talking points as the Likud members is crazy? Yes, because it's still Zionism. And Zionism is fascism. It's basically saying, liberal Zionist basically means like liberal fascist, okay? It's a laughable concept.
Is the level of starvation that people in Gaza, it's the level of starvation that people in Gaza...
You please respect my answer.
I just would like to understand, is the level of starvation people are facing acceptable? because of what happened.
All the
on the 7th of
responsibility of what
October.
is happening in Gaza right now, madam, is due to Hamas. You know that this war and starvation that you call that, of course, we're not responsible, and we do our best in order to make sure that population is not suffering, and this is why we allow humanitarian aid, and we're doing it from day one. Yet, this war, and President Biden said it himself, this war can be over in exactly 1 minute and 30 seconds if Hamas stops the war, gives up, of course, leaves Gaza, and brings back our hostages, and the war is over.
If I may, a couple of months ago, you spoke, I saw an interview you did talking about how much support you had from across the West. The truth is that support is waning, isn't it? You have the EU senior diplomat accusing you of starving people as a weapon of war. Israel's greatest friend, the US, Senate leader Chuck Schumer, saying Israel should hold elections to replace your leader, Mr. Netanyahu. You're losing friends, aren't you?
So I will ask you a question in return. I mean, between Israel, yes, a democratic country that has 134 hostages, and Hamas on the other side, would you tell me that you're on the side of Hamas? Are you on the side of terrorists? Would you be on the side of Al-Qaeda, Boko Haram, ISIS? Because this is how I interpreted your question.
No. I'll say it. Yeah, between Israel and Hamas are better. Objectively. Yeah. Not even a question. Why would you present yourself as why would you present this dynamic between Israel and Hamas while Israel's doing whatever the fuck they're doing so far? Lesser evil, baby, 100%. Lesser evil. Go ahead, get mad at me all day, every day. Hamas is the lesser evil vote. A vote for Hamas is a vote for lesser evil. It's called harm reduction. Mouth noises out of control, brother. Suck my dick, dude. The only mouth noises I want to hear is your dick around my dick around your fucking mouth.
Adam, we're on a war right now, which is the most justified war in the world. We have 134 hostages over there. Now, before being a member of parliament, I used to be a journalist myself. I covered wars. I covered wars in Iraq. I covered wars in Afghanistan. I covered wars also in Europe, in Kosovo. Believe me, the fact that you had civilians never prevented Europeans or Americans to make war. Not in Mosul, not in Rafah, not in Kosovo itself. So with all due respect, Israel has also the right to defend itself, and that's exactly what we're doing. We are intending obtaining two objectives. We shall bring back our hostages, and we shall evacuate
going to have to end it there.
Gaza from terrorists.
Thank you very much for talking to us this evening.
Thank you very much for